Well, hello, and welcome to Stop, Let's Team Up My Legion Adventure, episode 67. Folks, it has been 2 weeks without a Legion story. I apologize. I decided this time when it came to trimming time, what episodes would get a break, it was like, I think I needed a palate cleanse. Come on, we've done 66 episodes, and close to 100, not maybe 100. Yeah, we're getting toward 100 comics stories. But I needed the pause, and so I could read some other things and kind of refresh my brain. And it was good. But now we're going to cover the main story from Adventure Comics 371. The last one we did was the backup of that, which was a slightly edited reprint. But we're going to cover 371 and 372, which is a two-part story. So let's get started. Adventure Comics 371, cover dated August 1968. Neil Adams, Casper Saladino cover. Superboy. The cover reflects the backup story, and it's Superboy walking. It's when Superboy walked out of the Legion, and he's walking up into a spaceship, and Sunboy, Light Lass, Dual Damsel, and Ultra Boy looking sad. But that's not the story we're covering, but it's a nice cover. The story we're covering, which is called A Colossal Failure, which is what the story is not. It's an 11-page story. Editor, plotter, Mort Weisinger. Plotter, scripter, penciler, Jim Shooter. Layouts only. Pencils, Kurt Swan. Inks, Jack Abel. We'll discuss that. Letters, Ben Oda. Roll call, Saturn Girl, Colossal Boy, Brainiac 5, Shrinking Violet, Superboy, Sunboy, Bouncing Boy, Ultra Boy, introducing Chemical King, and the return of Timberwolf, previously Lone Wolf, who last appeared in 327. It's been a while. We get to see Gim Allen, Colossal Boy's parents, and the villains are Gorko and Plor. It is revealed in this story, since I'm a big fan of the Legion elections, Ultra Boy is now the new leader and Mon-El is his deputy. So let us do the short synopsis from DC's Wiki page, DC Fandom, because it's a long two stories, a lot of plot. But we're going to use the short synopsis. Colossal Boy is spending a quiet evening at home with his parents when two men claiming to represent Universal TV call on the Allens to interview them as part of a documentary on the Legion. When the men set up the equipment, however, it gives off rays that turn Mr. and Mrs. Allen into glass. They explain that their criminal superiors have assigned them to learn the exact details of the Legion training and testing program. Since such knowledge is classified and known only to members of that select board, the men give Gim 2 weeks to uncover the information and teleport away with his parents as hostages. Afraid to tell his comrades his problem, Gim deliberately fails on a mission and submits to retraining in order to gain the needed information. Bouncing Boy, temporarily acting as an instructor at the Legion Academy, suspects something is wrong and, hoping to find clues to Gim's problem in the Allen's apartment, discovers a top-secret manual and the illegal notes on the Legion training procedures. Colossal Boy is charged with treason and spying, and still fearful for his parents' safety, he offers no defense at his trial. Ultra Boy is a new leader, then expels him from the Legion, and crushed he leaves in disgrace. So let's kind of go over that. First comic. So I read this, as always, in the Archives Volume 8. We're getting through there. I got 9, 10, 5 more volumes to go. That's not that bad. First, I want to talk... just kind of go through the comic. It's got the little splash page where Colossal Failure, the title is the dock, I guess, in the court, and Gim's behind it. I like that we get to see Gim. We get his parents, I like that we know that we get to see their families and stuff. And this is a good little trick, and it's a nice little, it moves. It's 11 pages, so it moves clipped. You get the blackmail. You see him come back. So there's some nice imagery from Swan where he fails on the mission, where he gets stuck under what looks like the St. Louis Arc, but it's Metropolis Memorial Arc, I guess. And then it's the first time we get to go into the Legion Academy. And you have all these people in these like unitards, and we get to see them tested, and we meet Kondo Arlick, the Chemical King. He fights him in hand-to-hand combat. And he makes it, but it's Gim's not really trying to. I mean, Airlock even goes at. He goes, "Hey, what's the matter? You fight like your mind is a million miles away." You walked right into that. And Bouncy Boy, fusses at Gim too. Goes, "Recruit, this is no parlor game. Keep your mind on that. You're doing it. You're doing, or I'll bounce you out of here." And he's really Bouncy Boy suspicious. Because Gim keeps failing stuff, and then he finds the planted evidence, and we see him get kicked out. It's an interesting story. It's 11 pages, and I see that they split it with the Superboy that walked out that I talked about a couple weeks ago. It's a nice little setup. It's the first half of a comic. I mean, that's what I'm going to say. I do want to say something about the art. I've been raving about the Kurt Swan, George Klein. George Klein, I guess, is gone for good now, but I really don't like Jack Abel's inks on this comic. I think he does a little... it loses a little something. It's not as sharp. It's a little softer, and I didn't appreciate it in this issue. And I'm going to treat them both separately. So let's move on to the bigger story, which is a full-length story, and it is called The School for Supervillains. And it is in issue 372, cover dated September 1968. Another Neil Adams, Jasper Saladino cover. It's got a mask, bad guy smashing a glass Superboy, and Timberwolf. His original costume is standing behind him, and there's Colossal Boy and Chameleon Boy. The roll call for this, this is called School for Superheroes. It's 23 pages. Part 2 is called Robin and Reckon and Rotten Tricks, which is a great title. Credits are Mort Weisinger, editor, plotter, scripter, pencil, layouts only, Jim Shooter, Kurt Swan, pencils, Jack Abel, inks, Milton Snap, and letterer. Roll call: Cosmic Boy, Shrinking Violet, Saturn Girl, Dual Damsel, Phantom Girl, Chameleon Boy, Colossal Boy, Star Boy, Brainiac 5, Superboy, Bouncing Boy, Ultra Boy, Chemical King, and Timberwolf. Then the Allens are back. Villains that appear in this are Tarek the Mute, Lightning Lord, Nemesis Kid, Radiation Roy, Ron Carr, Spider-Girl, Gorko and Plor appeared last issue, and students of the Legion of Supervillains Academy. And now let's get the synopsis from the wiki, because the one in my index is god-awful long. And here we go. So, the two crooks who had forced Colossal Boy to betray his comrades meet him with a new proposition. Even as Bouncing Boy and Ultra Boy visit the Allen apartment in hope of questioning Gim's parents, and discover that the Allens had mysteriously vanished a week earlier. Back at Legion headquarters, Brainiac 5 examines Mrs. Allen's life jewel, which had been found in the other comic. I missed that. A gem linked with the owner's life force. Shrinking Violet is reduced to atomic size and travels through the infrared energy beam connecting the jewel to Mrs. Allen, and thus is transported to a strange, distant planet. There she finds an exact duplicate of the Legion Training Center, which is being used to instruct future members of a Legion of Supervillains. Colossal Boy, who remembers much of the data he stole, is present as teacher Tarek the Mute, a man-turned-criminal when a police blaster accidentally hit his throat, ruining his voice, and who now communicates by beaming his thoughts to a telepathic android which speaks for him, is the organizer of the evil Legion counterpart. Violet reports to the Legionnaires, who now realize that Colossal Boy had betrayed them only because the criminals were holding his parents. They decide to infiltrate the villain school to help him, and Superboy, Chameleon Boy, and 2 Legion Academy trainees, Chemical King and Timberwolf, are chosen for the job. They disguise themselves as students who fail Legion training and create a staged disturbance in order to get themselves noticed. A man representing Tarek sees them, offers them sanctuary, and takes them to the supervillain school. Touring the complex, the 4 disguised heroes note familiar faces belonging to such Legion traitors and rejects as Nemesis Kid, Spider-Girl, Radiation Roy, Lightning Lad's brother, Mac, now the villainous Lightning Lord. Colossal Boy recognizes the 4 before they have a chance to confer with him. However, it exposes their true identities in the battle that follows. The heroes are captured and condemned to be turned into glass and shattered. The next morning, the 4 are brought to the death room to be executed before the entire student body. When Superboy is seemingly turned to glass and smashed, Colossal Boy goes berserk. In the ensuing melee, the surviving heroes summon the other Legionnaires, and together they break up the villain's school. Superboy knocks out Tarek when the villain attempts to destroy Mr. and Mrs. Allen in revenge. The Boy of Steel had actually exchanged identities with Chameleon Boy, who used his power to become glass, thus making it seem Superboy had been destroyed. The Allens are returned to normal. Colossal Boy is restored to full membership, and Chemical King and Timberwolf earn their Legion Academy diplomas and join the team. Woohoo! I like this chapter. I like this comic a lot. I like the other one, but art-wise, I think I liked Chunks. I like this a little better. Jack Abel still bugs me. Just bugs me. It's like Vinnie Coletta. It's just gonna bug me, and I'm not gonna go over it why. It's just I think Swan stuff loses something. But, it's got a nice little flashback, and then Colossal Boy getting kicked out again. And then it kind of turns to the other Legionnaires, and you've got Bouncing Boy, Shrinking Violet, Saturn Girl, Superboy, Ultra Boy, and Brainiac 5 all sitting around a table, and they talk about the gem. And then there's this great sequence where Shrinking Violet shrinks down into the thing and then comes out on the other side and at the Academy. And I like Tarak the Mute. He's kind of cool, and he does come back in 80s, 90s Levitts when they bring back the Legion of Supervillains. But it's nicely paced. There's an old-fashioned scene where Brainiac 5's talking to the 4 people that are going to go underground, and they got their little name tags like it's an old John Forte panel. But, Swan's art is really good, and his costumes are great. I really do love... I really like Chemical King's costume. It's pretty simple. There's a moment where this art looks a little Tuska-esque. But it's nice. And I like when we get to the second part, when we get to see all these old villains. And, it's like always, I like these little mysteries they get involved with, which is the old formula. And then the trick of Superboy being smashed. It's done real well. This is the last time is this the last time we see Timberwolf in this costume? I don't know. He appears more often. Chemical King, I'm going to mention something. Chemical King isn't seen much until really later, and then right before he dies, because he's one of those Legionnaire dies. But, there's some really good stuff in it. The fight scenes between the villains and them is good. It's a nice, solid story. It's interesting. The cover is representative of the executioner. He's a shirtless guy with a hood. Just thinking if there's anything really crazy. No, it's like to see, and I'm just enjoying seeing Spider-Girl, Ron Carr, and Lightning Lord, all of it. It's really good. It's a fun story. These are not on the app, which is terrible. It drives me nuts. But see, that was a pretty good story. My overall take in, I think this was okay. It's not as good as other Jim Shooter ones. I don't think the art's as good as Swan Klein. We are getting into an era that I am much less familiar because we only have we don't have as many adventure comics to do, and then we're going to do the action stuff, and I'm really not well versed in the action stuff, and what I have read, some of it I really don't. The art really bugs me. But that's my personal taste on that. Until when it gets back into Superboy is when I think it's shining. So if I'm a little distracted, I think that may be it. But maybe I'm going to find that I love some of these stories because I don't really remember them. This one I really remembered. It's been reprinted a couple times, and I've read this volume once or twice. But it was, it was just kind of like the same. It was a pretty good story, but it's not the greatest. But if you're doing a read along, I hope you enjoyed it. All right, that's it for this week. Next week for Legion Adventure, it's that we meet the Tornado Twins, and there's a Chameleon Boy story, and I'm excited about that. This weekend, I don't know what's going to be the show, but hopefully something marvelous. And then next week, we're back to Jack and Ted in my Legion Adventure. So enjoy all that. Thank you for listening, and as always, be smart, be safe, be kind, tell someone they're special, and read some comics.